The gate arm snapped upward and a line of SUVs rolled onto my land before the sunrise haze had even burned off the grass. Fresh asphalt still smoked at the edges, yellow parking lines cut across my field, and a white sign beside the entrance read Willow Ridge Community Overflow Parking like they'd owned it for years. My fence posts were gone. My survey stakes were gone. And the only way those 50 cars were getting in was through the dirt access road I still owned outright. Then a school shuttle nosed in behind them, brakes hissing, and that was the moment this stopped being my problem and became everybody's. I stood there in work boots and a gray t-shirt, breathing in tar, exhaust, and that raw damp smell the ground gives off when it's been torn open too fast. Nobody asked? Nobody slowed down. A woman in a yoga visor stepped out of a Lexus, hit her lock button, and walked off carrying a tote bag like parking on my property was part of her morning routine. Another sedan followed. Then a pickup. Then a landscaping trailer. They weren't sneaking. They were operating on confidence, and confidence like that usually comes from paperwork, politics, or someone too arrogant to tell the difference. I walked toward the entrance, boots crunching over broken gravel buried under a skin of blacktop. The paint was still tacky enough to shine. The steel posts for the sign had been set in fresh concrete. Somebody had worked through the night. Somebody had planned this. And somebody had made one very expensive mistake, because the narrow strip of road feeding that whole brand new lot wasn't part of their subdivision, their commons, or their precious community plan. It was mine. My name's Ethan Walker. I'm 35, a civil engineer by trade, and I know exactly what rushed work looks like when people think nobody's going to check the lines. My father taught me that on this land when I was 10 years old, with a tape measure in one hand and a fence stretcher in the other. He also taught me something else. People rarely steal the whole thing at once. They take a corner, a path, an assumption. Then they wait to see if you flinch. I reached the sign and ran my fingers over the vinyl. Lettering. Clean edges. Professional job. That meant this wasn't some random neighbor using my field for a weekend event. This had a board vote behind it. Maybe invoices. Maybe permits dressed up to look broader than they were. Behind me, a minivan pulled in too fast, tires spitting loose stones from the unfinished shoulder. It parked beside a row of compact cars where my west fence line used to be. I turned and looked past the lot toward the tree line and saw the real damage. They hadn't just removed my fence. They'd graded the corner near the drainage ditch and shaved down the berm that kept runoff away from the lower pasture. One hard rain and dirty water would cut straight through my side of the property and into the county culvert. That meant backups. Flooding. Road complaints. Insurance calls. School bus reroutes. This wasn't just trespassing anymore. This was infrastructure pretending to be convenience. A golf cart whined in from the subdivision entrance, and there she was behind the wheel. Rebecca Collins. Blonde bob, white blazer, oversized sunglasses, one manicured hand on the wheel like she was arriving at a ribbon cutting instead of a theft scene. She slowed when she saw me, smiled like we were neighbors discussing hydrangeas, and lifted a stack of papers in my direction without getting out. The morning light flashed off her windshield. The engines kept ticking. More cars kept coming. And I realized they weren't testing my boundary. They were building a system on top of it. That changed everything. I did not move when Rebecca slowed her golf cart beside me. The motor hummed low, steady, like this was just another morning on her schedule. She held those papers out again, 2 fingers pinching the top corner, not stepping off the cart. I did not take them. The smell of fresh asphalt still hung in the air, mixing with cut grass and exhaust, thick enough to taste. A sedan squeezed past us, tires brushing the edge of the unfinished shoulder, and parked 3 rows deep where my east fence used to run. Rebecca followed the car with her eyes, then looked back at me with that same polite smile. "We improved the area," she said, voice light, almost rehearsed. "It benefits everyone." I glanced at the entrance behind her. Cars kept lining up. Engines idled. A delivery van now waited its turn, hazard lights blinking. This was not overflow anymore. This was routine. I let the silence sit between us for a second too long. Then I stepped past her cart and walked toward the edge of the lot. The ground dipped slightly where they had shaved the berm. I could see the shallow groove leading straight toward the culvert. One storm, maybe less, and water would start moving where it was never supposed to go. Another car door slammed. Someone laughed again, louder this time, like a crowd settling into a game. I crouched and pressed my fingers into the edge of the asphalt. It was still warm. Not fully set. Rushed. Cheap. Fast enough to look permanent, not strong enough to last. That told me something. They were not building this to code. They were building it to exist just long enough to become normal. I stood up and looked back at Rebecca. She was still watching me, still smiling, but her hand had tightened around those papers. A small detail. Easy to miss. The kind of thing you only notice when you have spent years reading job sites and people the same way. You planning to open a second entrance? I asked. My voice came out even. She tilted her head slightly, like the question was unnecessary. This one works fine, she said. Another car rolled in behind her cart, horn tapping once, impatient. She did not move. That was her answer. They had built everything around a single point of access. My point of access. I walked back toward the entrance slowly, counting steps out of habit. 12 feet wide at the narrowest point. Crushed stone base under the dirt. No reinforcement. No secondary lane. No bypass. Every vehicle entering and leaving that lot had to pass through this strip. I could feel it now, the shape of the system they had created without realizing it. I stopped just short of the sign and looked at the line of cars again. There were more now. At least 60. A man in a polo shirt was directing someone with hand signals like he had been assigned the role. Assigned by who? I watched him wave a truck into position, then jog back toward the sidewalk that marked the subdivision boundary. He never once looked toward me. That confidence again. That assumption that this was settled. I turned back to Rebecca. You are charging for this, I said. Not a question. Her smile shifted, just a fraction. Maintenance fees, she replied. Standard for community use. There it was. Not just using my land. Monetizing it. I let that sit in the air between us. A breeze picked up, carrying the sharp chemical edge of curing tar across the lot. Somewhere a door slammed harder than the others. The sound echoed. I looked down the length of the access road one more time. Narrow. Exposed. Completely under my control. I pictured what it would look like blocked. Not hypothetically. Exactly. Where the posts would go. How deep the concrete would need to be. How long it would take before anyone noticed. I exhaled slowly. Rebecca was still waiting for a reaction. An argument. A protest. Something she could respond to with those papers in her hand. I did none of that. I just nodded once, like I had accepted what I was seeing. Then I stepped off the asphalt and back onto the dirt road, boots pressing into ground that still remembered its original shape under the weight. Behind me, engines kept idling. More cars kept arriving. And I started measuring distances in my head. I stayed on the dirt road and let the traffic build behind me. The line stretched past the entrance now, curling along the subdivision curb like it had always belonged there. Engines idled. Brake lights blinked. Someone tapped a horn twice, sharp and impatient. A man in a reflective vest stepped out near the front and started waving cars forward again, directing them like he had been hired for the job. I watched his motions. Confident. Rehearsed. That meant this was organized. Not a one-time decision. Not a mistake. I walked a few yards down the access road and turned back. The entire flow depended on this strip. 12 feet wide. No shoulder. No alternate route. Every car that came in had to slow, align, and pass through this exact point. I could feel the pattern settling into place. Rebecca had not built a parking lot. She had built a funnel. And she did not even realize who controlled the narrowest point. A delivery truck rumbled forward, heavy tires pressing deep into the dirt edges where the asphalt ended. The driver leaned out his window and called to the man in the vest, asking where to unload. The man pointed toward the far corner of my property like it was part of a plan. That was new. Unloading meant vendors. Vendors meant contracts. Contracts meant money already changing hands. I stepped closer to the truck and caught the company name on the side panel. A local catering service. Early morning drop. That explained the shuttle bus. Events. They were not just parking cars. They were hosting something. I looked past the rows of vehicles and saw a cluster of white tents going up near the tree line. Metal frames clinked. Canvas snapped in the breeze. People moved quickly, setting tables, carrying boxes, laying out something that looked like a weekend market or a small festival. The scales shifted in my head. This was bigger than overflow. This was infrastructure built on an assumption that I would not push back. I turned and walked back toward the entrance. Rebecca was still there, still in her cart, but now she was talking to a man in a blazer who had just arrived. He held a clipboard and nodded as she spoke, glancing occasionally toward the lot like he was inspecting progress. I slowed just enough to hear a few words. Capacity. Rotation. Revenue split. The man scribbled something down and handed her a pen to sign. She did not hesitate. She signed standing up in the cart, quick and practiced. That was the moment it locked in for me. They had formalized this. They had turned my land into a line item. I stepped closer, boots crunching over loose gravel at the edge of the asphalt. The man in the blazer looked up briefly, gave me a polite nod like I was just another resident, then went back to his notes. He did not ask who I was. He did not need to. In his version of the plan, I did not exist. I glanced at the papers in Rebecca's hand. Not the ones she had offered me earlier. New ones. Fresh ink. Multiple signatures. I did not read them. I did not need to. The structure was clear. They had built demand. First. Then they added organization. Now they were locking in profit. I shifted my gaze back to the entrance road. A second line of cars had started forming behind the first, trying to merge in from the side street. That created a choke point right at the edge of my property. Tires edged closer to the grass. One wrong move and someone would slide into the ditch they had cut too shallow. I could already see the ruts forming. Another day of this, and the edges would collapse. That would not just be a parking problem. That would be a liability problem. I took a few slow steps along the road, counting again. Distance from the sign to the narrowest point. Distance from the ditch to the culvert. Angle of entry for larger vehicles. I pictured a steel gate across the width. Not temporary. Permanent. Anchored deep enough to resist pressure from both sides. I pictured concrete posts set below frost line, reinforced, measured, aligned. No gap. No bypass. Clean stop. Behind me, the vest guy shouted directions to a driver who had misjudged the turn. Tires spun briefly, kicking dust into the air before catching. The smell of burnt rubber cut through the asphalt. A small detail, but it told me everything about how fragile their setup really was. They had speed. They had volume. They did not have control. I looked back at Rebecca one more time. She had finished with the man in the blazer and was now scanning the lot, satisfied, like she had solved a problem for her community. She caught my eye for a second and gave a small nod, like we had reached some kind of understanding. I held her gaze just long enough to let that assumption settle. Then I turned away from the lot and walked down the access road, each step steady, each distance locking into place, because by the time they realized what they had built, it was already going to be too late. I drove back just before noon, and the place had doubled in size. The asphalt shimmered under the sun, heat rising in waves, and the rows of cars stretched deeper into my field than they had that morning. Engines idled. Doors slammed. Music leaked from somewhere near the tents, low bass thumping against the steady hum of traffic. The entrance was worse. 2 lines now. One trying to get in. one trying to get out. Both forced through the same narrow strip of dirt I owned. A man in a bright polo shirt stood near the choke point, waving his arms like he could control physics. He could not. A pickup cut too wide and its rear tire slipped off the edge, dropping into the shallow ditch they had carved. The driver cursed and hit the gas. Dirt sprayed. The truck lurched forward and climbed back up, but the edge crumbled another few inches. I watched the soil break apart. Loose. Uncompacted. That berm had taken years to settle. They destroyed it in hours. I stepped out of my truck and closed the door quietly. No one noticed. Not the drivers. Not the vest guy. Not Rebecca, who stood near the tents now, talking to a small group of people holding clipboards and branded folders. They looked like vendors. Or sponsors. Someone handed her a tablet. She tapped the screen, nodded, then pointed toward the lot like she was assigning sections. I moved along the edge of the access road, keeping my distance, watching how the flow behaved under pressure. Cars entering slowed to a crawl at the narrowest point. Cars leaving had to wait, angled awkwardly, until someone waved them through. Every hesitation stacked behind it. Every delay rippled outward. A system like this only works if the entry holds. If it breaks, everything behind it collapses. A shuttle bus rolled in again, larger this time, windows tinted, brakes hissing loud enough to cut through the music. It stopped halfway into the road, blocking both directions for a second too long. Horns started. Short at first. Then longer. Frustration building. The man in the polo jogged over, slapping the side of the bus, pointing, shouting directions. The driver adjusted, inch by inch, until the bus cleared the choke point and pulled into the lot. The horn stopped, but the line did not move for another 30 seconds. That delay told me exactly how fragile their timing was. I walked to the exact center of the narrowest section and looked down. Tire tracks layered over each other. Edges crumbling. No reinforcement underneath. Just compacted dirt and a thin base. It would hold for now. Not forever. Not under this load. I glanced toward the covert again. A trickle of water already moved along the groove they had cut, thin but steady, carrying loose sediment with it. No rain. Just runoff from the asphalt. That meant the grade was wrong. Water was already choosing a new path. Give it a storm and it would carve that path deeper. I could picture the callouts. County complaints. Road closures. Emergency signage. All triggered by a decision that started right here. I straightened and looked back toward the lot. More tents had gone up. People moved faster now. Lines forming near the tables. This was no longer setup. This was operation. Money was changing hands somewhere in that cluster. Parking fees. Vendor fees. Maybe even tickets. All of it flowing through a system that depended entirely on my road. I pulled my phone out and opened the map app. Not to navigate. To mark points. I dropped a pin at the entrance. Another at the narrowest section. Another near the culvert. I measured distances with my thumb. 12 feet here. 11.5 there. Enough space for a gate. Enough space for posts. No room for a second lane without cutting deeper into my property. They had not left themselves an out. I slipped the phone back into my pocket and walked toward the edge where asphalt met dirt. I bent down and picked up a small chunk of broken concrete from the sign base. It was still damp at the center. Poured less than 24 hours ago. Fast work. Sloppy curing. I turned it in my hand, feeling the grit flake off. Behind me, someone laughed again. A different voice this time. Louder. Closer. Like the crowd was growing. I dropped the concrete piece back onto the ground and wiped my hands on my jeans. The sun sat higher now, heat pressing down, softening the edges of everything they had rushed to build. I looked once more at the entrance, at the lines of cars feeding into it, at the single path they all depended on. Then I stepped off to the side, out of the flow, and let them keep coming, because the more they relied on that road, the harder it was going to hit when it stopped. I came back just after sunset, and the noise hit me before the headlights did. Engines idled in long rows. Brake lights glowed red across the field like a grid. The air smelled different now. Not just asphalt. Food. Grease. Charcoal smoke drifting from somewhere near the tents. Music was louder too. Not background anymore. It carried across the entire property, low bass shaking through the ground under my boots. This was not temporary. This was an operation running at full capacity. I stayed in my truck for a moment, watching the entrance. Same narrow strip. Same bottleneck. But now it was lit with portable floodlights, white beams cutting through the dark, making the dust hang in the air like fog. 2 attendants stood at the choke point, one handling incoming cars, the other trying to manage the exit. They wore matching shirts now. Printed logos. This had branding. That meant investment. I stepped out and closed the door softly. No one looked over. The crowd had grown thick enough to swallow small movements. A line of people walked from the lot toward the tents, carrying bags, drinks, folding chairs. Families. Couples. Groups of teenagers. This was bigger than parking. This was an event feeding off the space. I walked along the edge of the access road again, slower this time, letting my eyes adjust to the light and shadow. The edges had degraded further. Tire tracks cut deeper into the dirt. The ditch was wider where that pickup had slipped earlier. I crouched and ran my hand along the edge. Loose soil. Crumbling under light pressure. One more heavy vehicle cutting wide and it would collapse another few inches. I stood and looked toward the culvert. Water reflected the floodlights now, a thin line shimmering where it should not exist. That path was getting stronger. Not weaker. I turned back toward the entrance and watched the flow. Cars moved in bursts. Stop. Go. Stop again. Every delay stacking behind the next. The attendants worked faster now, but speed did not fix the design. It only hid the strain. A black SUV rolled forward too quickly and had to brake hard when the exit lane blocked. Tires squealed briefly. The driver leaned out, frustrated, gesturing at the attendant. The attendant waved him back, redirecting him with sharp motions. For a second, everything stopped. No movement in. No movement out. Just engines idling and people waiting. Then it released. Slowly. One car at a time. That moment mattered. That was the failure point. I stepped closer to the center of the road and looked straight down its length. This entire system depended on timing and cooperation. It had neither. It only had volume. And volume always breaks first. I heard my name behind me. Not loud. Just enough to cut through the noise. I turned. Rebecca stood a few yards away, out of the direct light, her silhouette sharp against the glow from the tents. She walked toward me, heels steady on the packed dirt, not even glancing at the traffic she had created. "You came back," she said like it was a small surprise. I nodded once. She looked past me at the entrance, then back at the crowd, then back at me. Satisfaction. Clear in her posture. "It is working," she added. I followed her gaze. Cars. People. Movement. Money. On the surface, she was right. It was working. For now. For tonight, I said. My voice stayed even. She tilted her head slightly, like she was deciding how to respond. "We have permits," she said, holding up a different set of papers than before. Thicker stack. Official stamps visible even in the low light. She did not hand them over this time. Just showed them. That told me everything. She thought paperwork solved the problem. She thought approval meant control. I let my eyes drop from the papers back to the road. A van tried to exit and got stuck halfway when another car pushed in too early. The attendant rushed over, tapping on windows, redirecting, trying to untangle the mess. It took longer this time. Longer than before. People started stepping out of their cars. Talking. Pointing. The noise shifted. Not just music now. frustration, confusion, pressure building. I looked back at Rebecca. She followed my gaze and saw it too, just for a second. A flicker. Then she smoothed it over, straightened, and lifted her chin. "We will manage," she said. I nodded again, slow this time. Then I turned away from her and walked back down the access road, leaving the lights and noise behind me. Stepping into the darker stretch where the dirt still felt like mine under my boots, because the longer they believed this system could hold, the less ready they would be when it failed. I did not go back to the house right away. I stayed on the road until the noise faded behind me and the air cooled enough to lose that sharp asphalt edge. Crickets took over where engines had been. The ground under my boots felt different here. Firm. Untouched. The way it was supposed to feel. I stopped at the bend where the trees closed in and looked back. The floodlights still cut through the dark in hard white lines. You could see the glow from a quarter-mile out. That kind of visibility draws more than people. It draws attention. Complaints. Questions. I pulled my phone out again and opened the satellite view. The lot looked clean from above. Rectangles. Lines. Order. But the access road stood out. A thin vein feeding everything. No redundancy. No backup. Just one path. I zoomed in and traced it with my thumb. From the county road. Through my land. Straight into their system. Then I switched to measurement and marked the narrowest section again. 11 feet and 8 inches at the tightest point. Less than standard for two-way traffic. They had forced a two-way flow into a one-lane throat. I could hear a horn carry across the distance. Then another. Short bursts. Not panic. Not yet. I locked the screen and slipped the phone back into my pocket. By the time I reached the house, the music had dropped to a low hum behind the trees. I washed my hands at the sink and watched the water run clear, then cloudy, then clear again. Fine dust from the road. Grit from the broken edge. I dried my hands and sat at the table with a blank pad. No diagrams at first. Just numbers. Widths. Distances. Depth for posts below frost line. 36 inches minimum. 42 to be safe. Concrete volume per hole. Rebar spacing. Gate span across 12 feet with no sag. Hinge load under constant use. I wrote it out clean. No guesswork. I drew the line across the page where the gate would sit. Perpendicular to the road. Centered at the choke point. No room to swing wide without hitting the ditch. On one side or the berm on the other. That mattered. If they tried to bypass, they would have to leave the road entirely. That would fail fast. I flipped the page and listed materials. Steel posts. 8-inch diameter. Schedule 40 pipe. Concrete mix. Fast set for initial hold. Standard cure for full strength. Hardware rated for exterior use. Lock assembly that could take weather and repeated contact. Nothing fancy. Just solid. I paused and listened. The night had settled. No horns now. Just distant music and the occasional engine rev. That told me something had stabilized for the moment. It always does. Systems find a rhythm before they fail. I stood and stepped out onto the porch. The air had cooled further. A light breeze moved through the trees, carrying faint traces of smoke and food. The glow on the horizon pulsed with movement. More cars arriving. Even at this hour. I checked my watch. Past 10. That meant they were pushing later than a normal day use. That meant more traffic in the dark. Less visibility. Higher chance of error at the entrance. I leaned against the railing and watched the light for a long second. Then I turned back inside and picked up my phone again. I scrolled through contacts and stopped on a name I had not used in a while. Davis. He ran a small crew out of town. Fast. Quiet. No questions as long as the work made sense. I tapped the call button and held the phone to my ear. It rang twice. 3 times. Then he answered. His voice came through low, steady. I kept it simple. Location. Measurements. Materials. Timeline. No extra words. He did not ask many questions. Just one. When? I looked out the window toward the distant glow again. Cars still moving. Lines still forming. Dependence growing with every minute. I answered him without looking away. Before sunrise. There was a short pause on the line. Then a single word. Done. I ended the call and set the phone down on the table. The plan was not complicated. It did not need to be. They had already built the pressure. All I had to do was give it a wall to hit. I turned off the kitchen light and stepped back outside one more time, letting my eyes adjust to the dark, watching that distant glow flicker through the trees, because by the time the sun came up, the only thing that would matter was what stood across that road. The first truck rolled in at 4:12 a.m., headlights cutting through the dark like a blade. Gravel crunched under heavy tires as it eased onto the dirt road, stopping exactly where I had marked it the night before. The engine idled low, steady, like it knew this job mattered. I stepped out of the shadows and raised a hand. The driver killed the lights. The world went quiet again. Then the second truck came. And the third. No music now. No voices. Just the soft clank of metal and the hiss of air brakes settling. Davis stepped down from the lead truck, boots hitting the ground with a dull thud. He looked at me once, then at the road, then back at me. No questions. Just a short nod. That was enough. I walked him to the narrowest point and pointed to the ground. Here, I said. He crouched, pressed his hand into the dirt, then glanced at the ditch, the berm, the angle of the road. He saw it immediately. The choke point. The dependency. The lack of escape. He stood up and motioned to his crew. Tools came out fast. Augers. Post levels. Bags of concrete stacked in neat rows. The first drill bit bit into the ground with a low growl, tearing through compacted dirt and loose stone. The sound carried, but not far. Not past the trees. Not back to the lot. Not yet. I watched the hole deepen, dirt piling beside it, dark and damp from the cool night air. 30 inches. Then 36. Davis checked depth with a tape, nodded, and they set the first steel post. 8 inches thick. Heavy. Solid. It dropped into place with a hollow sound, then steadied as they packed it straight. The smell of concrete hit next. Sharp. Chemical. Familiar. They mixed fast, pouring it in, tamping it down, locking the base. No wasted movement. No extra talk. The second hole started before the first was even finished. Rhythm. Precision. I stepped back and watched the line form. Post 1. Post 2. Space measured between them for the gate span. Exact. No guesswork. The sky lightened just a shade at the horizon, a faint gray pushing against the black. Time was moving. We were ahead of it. A car passed on the distant county road, headlights sweeping briefly across the trees, then gone. No one turned in. Not yet. Davis lifted the gate frame from the back of the truck with two men, steel glinting faintly in the low light. They carried it into position and set it between the posts. Hinges aligned. Bolts slid through. Tightened. The metal rang once as it settled, a clean, final sound. I felt that more than I heard it. The lock assembly came last. Simple. Heavy. Weather rated. Davis handed it to me without a word. I took it and fitted it into place, the mechanism clicking once as it seated. Not locked yet. Just ready. Behind us, the world was still quiet. No engines. No horns. No music. Just the faint hum of insects and the distant rustle of trees. I looked down the road toward the lot. The glow from the floodlights had dimmed, but it was still there, pulsing faintly through the branches. People would still be inside. Some leaving. Some arriving early. They would not see this until they reached it. That was the point. Davis wiped his hands on a rag and stepped back, looking at the work. Straight. Centered. Unavoidable. He gave me another short nod. Done. I nodded back and walked to the center of the gate. My hand rested on the cold metal for a second. It felt solid. Final. I pulled it closed slowly. The hinges moved smooth, no resistance, no sound beyond a low metal glide. The gate met the opposite post with a dull, heavy contact. I lifted the lock, slid it through, and paused for half a second. The sky behind the trees was turning lighter now. Not full sunrise, but close enough that the first cars would be moving soon. I snapped the lock shut. The sound was small. Sharp. Final. I stepped back and looked at it. A clean line across the only path in and out. No gaps. No way around without leaving the road entirely. And leaving the road meant failure. I turned to Davis. Clear out, I said. He did not argue. The crew moved fast, loading tools, stacking unused materials, engines starting one by one. The trucks rolled out the way they came, quiet, controlled, leaving the gate standing alone in the growing light. I stayed where I was, waiting, because it would not take long for someone to reach it. I heard the first engine before I saw the headlights. Low rumble. Slow approach. Someone leaving early. The light broke through the trees a second later, cutting across the road until it hit the gate and stopped. Brake lights flared red. The engine idled. Then a door opened. A man stepped out, looked at the steel across the road, then looked around like the answer might be hiding in the trees. It was not. He walked up to the gate and grabbed it with both hands. Pulled once. Harder the second time. The metal did not move. He stepped back, confused now, and turned toward the lot. Another car rolled up behind him. Then another. The line formed faster than it had the day before. Engines stacked. No space to turn around. No shoulder to escape onto. The first driver raised his hands, talking to the second through an open window. Voices carried. Not loud yet. Just enough to signal something was wrong. I stayed where I was, a few yards off the road, watching the pattern build. A third car tried to edge around the side, tires slipping toward the ditch. The driver corrected quickly, backing off, realizing there was no path there. The berm held just enough to keep him from committing to it. Smart. Or lucky. The engines idled longer now. Heat building under the hoods. A horn sounded. Short. Sharp. Then another, longer this time. The second driver stepped out, walked up beside the first, both of them staring at the lock like it might explain itself. One of them reached out and tapped it with his knuckle. Metal on metal. Hollow. Final. Behind them, more cars kept arriving. Headlights stacking in a line that stretched past the trees and out toward the county road. The flow had not stopped upstream. They had no signal to warn them. No alternate route to redirect them. Just a blind feed into a closed point. I took a slow step forward, just enough to come into their view. The first driver turned when he heard the gravel shift under my boot. His eyes landed on me, then on the gate, then back on me again. Recognition did not come immediately. Then it did. He straightened, like he had just found the person responsible for the problem. "This is locked," he said, stating the obvious like it might unlock it. I nodded once. No rush. No explanation. He glanced back at the line of cars, then forward again. "We need to get out," he added. His voice carried more weight now. Not just a request. Pressure building behind him. I looked past him at the queue. At least a dozen vehicles now. More coming. No movement. Just idling engines and rising tension. "There is no exit," I said. Even. Clear. One sentence. It landed harder than any argument. The second driver shook his head, half laugh, half disbelief. "That is not how this works," he said. I held his gaze for a second, then looked back at the gate. "It is today." Another horn sounded behind them. Louder. Longer. A ripple of frustration moved through the line. Doors opened further back. People stepping out, trying to see what was blocking them. Phones came out. Screens glowing in the early light. Calls starting. I could hear fragments. Blocked. Gate. Cannot move. The words spread faster than the cars could. I shifted my attention toward the lot. Movement there too. People noticing the backup. A small group started walking toward the entrance, weaving between parked cars, drawn by the noise. Among them, I saw her. Rebecca. Moving faster than before, posture tighter, eyes fixed on the road ahead. She reached the front just as another driver leaned on his horn, holding it down long enough to cut through everything else. The sound hung in the air. Sharp. Continuous. She raised a hand, signaling for quiet, but the noise did not stop immediately. It faded slowly, replaced by voices. Questions. Demands. She stepped up to the gate and looked at the lock. Really looked at it this time. Then she turned to me. No smile now. No polished calm. Just calculation. Open it, she said. Direct. No pretense. I did not move. The line behind her shifted again, more cars pressing forward without space to go. Engines revved and settled. The pressure was no longer hidden. It was visible. Audible. Structural. I let a second pass. Then another. Enough time for the reality to settle in. Not just for her. For everyone watching. I rested my hand lightly on the steel, feeling the cool surface under my palm, and looked at her without raising my voice, because this was no longer a conversation she could control. Rebecca stepped closer to the gate, heels stopping just short of the steel, her eyes locked on the chain like it had personally offended her. The crowd pressed in behind her now, not touching, but close enough that the air felt tighter. Engines still idled. Heat rising. No one moving forward. No one moving back. She held up those papers again, the thicker stack, edges crisp, official seals catching the early light. We have authorization, she said, voice steady but louder now, meant for everyone within earshot. I did not look at the papers. I kept my hand on the gate. Cold metal. Solid. Real. You authorized a lot, I said. One sentence. No rush. A man behind her muttered something under his breath. Another voice asked how long this would take. The line shifted again, tires rolling inches, then stopping. Rebecca took one step closer. Close enough now that she had to tilt her head slightly to see past me down the road. This is access, she said, tapping the papers with one finger. Community access. I let that sit for a second. Then I glanced past her at the vehicles stacked behind. At least 20 now. More arriving. No space left at the back. The county road would feel this soon. This road is not part of your community, I said. Even. Clear. No extra words. A ripple moved through the crowd. Small. But it spread. The first driver, the one who had tried the gate earlier, stepped forward again. So what do we do? He asked, looking between us like we were about to agree on something simple. I looked at him for a second. Then back at the gate. You wait, I said. The words landed heavy. Not aggressive. Just final. Behind him, a woman raised her phone higher, recording now. Another person started a call, pacing near the edge of the road, voice low but urgent. Rebecca's posture shifted. Not relaxed anymore. Shoulders tighter. Jaw set. You are creating a hazard, she said. That word carried weight. Hazard. Liability. The kind of language meant to move control back into her hands. I nodded once. You already did, I replied. A brief silence followed. Not full quiet, but enough that the engines and distant voices filled the gap instead of arguments. She looked at the ditch. At the crumbling edge. At the line of cars trapped on both sides. I saw it register. Not all of it. But enough. A man further back honked again. Longer this time. Others joined in, a staggered chorus of impatience. The sound bounced between the trees, amplifying the pressure. Rebecca turned slightly, raising a hand to calm them, but the noise did not stop right away. It faded in uneven waves. I watched her bring her focus back to me. "Open it," she said again, slower now, each word placed carefully. Not a request. Not quite a demand. Something in between. I shook my head once. Small. Controlled. "Not like this," I said. Her eyes narrowed. "Then how?" she asked. That was the first real question she had asked. The first time she acknowledged there was a condition she did not control. I shifted my weight slightly, feeling the packed dirt under my boots, the exact line where the road narrowed, where everything funneled into this point. "You built a system that depends on something you do not own," I said. Each word measured. "You made money on it." A murmur moved through the crowd at that. Not loud, but present. People turning to each other. Connecting pieces. Rebecca's grip tightened on the papers. "That is not relevant," she said quickly. Too quickly. I did not respond right away. I let the silence stretch just long enough for the noise behind her to creep back in. Engines. Voices. Movement without progress. Then I spoke again. "It is the only thing that matters." The first driver exhaled sharply, running a hand through his hair. "So what is the fix?" he asked again, louder now, speaking for more than just himself. I looked at him, then at the line, then back at Rebecca. "This road is private," I said. "If it is used, it is under terms I set." Another pause. Longer this time. Enough for that idea to settle into the crowd. Not just a blocked exit. A controlled one. Rebecca stared at me, calculating again, but now the variables had changed. Time. Pressure. Witnesses. I could see her. Weighing options she had not prepared for. Around her, phones stayed up. Cameras steady. Voices low but constant. The system she built was still running. But now it was visible where it broke. I kept my hand on the gate and met her eyes, because the next move was not about force or volume. It was about whether she was willing to admit she had built everything on a road that could disappear with a single decision. Rebecca did not answer right away. She looked past me again, this time longer, watching the line of cars stretch farther than she expected. The horns had stopped, but the silence that replaced them felt heavier. People were watching now. Not just waiting. Watching. She lowered the papers slightly, just enough to break the image she had been holding. "You are holding everyone here," she said. Her voice dropped, tighter, more controlled. I nodded once. "No," I said. "This gate is." I tapped the steel lightly with my fingers. The sound carried just enough to land. A small detail, but it shifted the focus. Not me. The barrier. The system. The first driver exhaled again, louder this time. "We have been here 20 minutes, he said, glancing at his watch. Another voice behind him added, "I have to be at work." The pressure was no longer abstract. It had names. Schedules. Consequences. Rebecca turned slightly, addressing them without losing sight of me. "We are resolving it," she said. The word we hung there. I did not correct it. Not yet. A man near the back stepped out of his car and started walking forward, weaving between bumpers, trying to see the problem for himself. More followed. The space tightened further. I could hear phones still active. Conversations spreading outward. Someone mentioned calling the county. Someone else mentioned the police. The words floated, not directed, just part of the growing noise. Rebecca heard them too. I saw it in the way her shoulders squared. "This is a public access issue," she said, lifting the papers again, trying to anchor the moment in authority. "We have permits for this use." I let her finish. Then I looked at the edge of the road where the dirt had collapsed further under the morning traffic. A tire had cut deeper into the groove, widening it another inch. Water would follow that line later. It always does. "Your permits do not extend here," I said, pointing down at the ground between us. "Not on this strip." I kept my voice even. No need to raise it. The crowd was quiet enough now to carry every word. Rebecca followed my gesture, then looked back at me. For a second, she did not speak. She recalculated. I could see it. Numbers. Options. Time. Then what are your terms? She asked finally. There it was. Not an argument. A negotiation. I did not answer immediately. I let the pause sit, long enough for the line of cars to feel it, for the people behind her to lean in without realizing it. Then I spoke. Controlled access, I said. Limited volume. No events. No vendors. No fees collected on my land. Each point landed separately. Clean. Simple. The man in the blazer from the day before pushed his way to the front now, breath slightly short, eyes moving fast between Rebecca and me. That is not viable, he said quickly. We have contracts in place. I looked at him. Just long enough to make him hold still. You built those contracts on something you do not control, I replied. He opened his mouth to respond, then stopped. Behind him, another horn sounded, shorter this time, more like a reminder than a protest. Rebecca glanced back at the line again. It had grown. Cars now sat angled at the far end, trying to find space that did not exist. The county road would be feeling it by now. Any minute, someone outside this system would notice. That clock was running whether she acknowledged it or not. She turned back to me. If we agree, she said slowly, you open it now. I shook my head once. Small. We agree first, I said. In writing. The man in the blazer stepped forward again, urgency breaking through his earlier confidence. We do not have time for that, he said. I looked past him at the line, then back at Rebecca. You use time to build this, I said. You can use it to fix it. Another pause. Longer. The kind that stretches when options narrow. Rebecca's grip on the papers loosened slightly. Not much. Just enough to see the shift. She turned to the man in the blazer and spoke low, too quiet for the crowd, but I watched their faces. His resistance. Her insistence. A quick calculation passing between them. Then she turned back to me. Draft it, she said. 2 words. Not loud. But final in a different way. I nodded once and reached into my pocket, pulling out my phone, because the moment she said that, the system she built stopped being hers. I did not rush the words. I typed slow enough for every line to matter, standing there with the phone in my hand while engines idled and people waited. The screen reflected faint morning light as I wrote the terms exactly as I had said them. Controlled access. Limited vehicle count. No commercial activity. No vendors. No fees collected on my property. Maintenance responsibility defined. Liability assigned. Clear. Direct. No gaps to argue later. I turned the screen toward Rebecca when I was done. She stepped closer, reading in silence. The crowd leaned in without meaning to. Not to see the text. To feel the decision forming. The man in the blazer tried to speak once, then stopped when she raised a hand slightly. Not a command. Just enough to hold him back. She kept reading. Her eyes moved slower than before. Careful now. Not confident. Calculating risk instead of assuming control. Behind her, another car engine shut off. Then another. People were conserving fuel. That meant they understood this was not ending in seconds. That shift mattered. Time had changed sides. Rebecca looked up from the screen and met my eyes. No smile. No pretense. This eliminates revenue, she said. I nodded once. Yes. No apology. No adjustment. The truth did not need it. She glanced back at the line again. Longer now. Tighter. Someone near the back tried to turn around and failed, blocked by the angle and the cars behind. A small ripple of movement. Then stillness again. She looked back at the phone. And if we do not agree? She asked. I did not answer right away. I let her hear the engines, the voices, the quiet pressure building in layers. Then I spoke. Then it stays closed. Simple. Final. The man in the blazer exhaled sharply, frustration breaking through. You cannot do that, he said, stepping forward. I looked at him. Not long. Just enough. I already did, I replied. He stopped. No argument followed. Not because he agreed. Because he did not have a move that worked. Rebecca held the phone a second longer, then handed it back to me. We need signatures, she said. Her voice was steady again, but different now. Grounded. Not performative. I nodded and opened a new note, adjusting the wording into a clean agreement format. Names. Parties. Terms. Date. Time. Location. No room for confusion. I handed the phone back once more. She read it again, faster this time, then passed it to the man in the blazer. He scanned it, jaw tight, then looked at her. A silent exchange. Short. Final. He gave a small nod. She turned back to me. We sign, she said. 2 words. Enough. I handed her the phone. She entered her name with a precise motion, each letter deliberate. Then she passed it to him. He hesitated for half a second, then signed as well. I took the phone back and added my name last. The order mattered. They committed first. I locked the screen and slipped it into my pocket. No announcement. No speech. Just a quiet shift from standoff to resolution. The first driver stepped forward again, eyes moving between us. So we can leave, he said. Not a question. Not yet relief. Just checking reality. I walked to the gate and rested my hand on the lock. Cold. Solid. I paused for a second, not for effect, but because this moment would define everything after. Then I lifted the latch and pulled the lock free. The metal clicked open. The sound carried farther than I expected. Small. Sharp. Enough. I swung the gates slowly, the hinges moving clean, no resistance. Space opened. Not wide. Just enough for one vehicle at a time. Controlled. As designed. The first driver got back into his car, started the engine, and rolled forward carefully. He passed through without rushing, eyes forward, like he understood something had changed even if he could not name it. The second car followed. Then the third. The line began to move. Slow at first. Then steady. Rebecca stepped aside, watching the flow, paper still in her hand but no longer leading anything. The man in the blazer stood behind her, silent now, recalculating a system that no longer belonged to him. I closed my hand around the gate as the first few cars cleared, feeling the weight of it shift with each movement, because this was not the end of what they built, it was the moment it started operating under rules they did not control. The line did not clear fast. It could not. The road forced everything into a single rhythm now, one car at a time, each driver easing forward with more care than before. No one rushed anymore. No one tried to cut the line. They had felt what happened when the system stopped, and that memory stayed in their hands on the wheel. I stood by the gate and controlled the flow without saying much. A small lift of my hand. A slight nod? Enough to keep movement steady. The difference showed immediately. No horns. No sudden stops. Just a controlled release of pressure. Rebecca stayed a few steps back, watching it all, her papers lowered at her side like they no longer mattered the same way. The man in the blazer moved less now, his earlier urgency gone, replaced by quiet observation. He checked his phone more than once, likely tracking the ripple this had already sent beyond the lot. I did not need to ask. The county road would have felt the backup. Someone would have reported it. Someone always does. A pickup rolled through the gate and slowed as it passed me. The driver gave a short nod, not grateful, just aware. That was enough. The next car followed. Then another. The pattern held. Inside the lot, I could see movement shifting. Tents still stood, but activity had slowed. Vendors were packing earlier than planned. Tables folding. Boxes being carried back to trucks. The system that looked permanent the night before was already adjusting. I stepped aside for a moment and looked down at the edge of the road again. The dirt had been worn deeper overnight. The ditch wider. The water line clearer. It would take work to restore it. Time. Cost. Responsibility. All of that now sat on paper in my pocket. A woman walked past me toward the exit, phone still in her hand, voice low as she explained the situation to someone on the other end. I caught a few words. Private. Road. New rules. They shut it down. The phrasing spread fast. Not perfectly accurate, but close enough to change perception. That mattered more than details. Perception shapes behavior faster than documents ever will. I looked up as Rebecca stepped forward again, stopping just outside the path of the moving cars. She waited until a small gap opened, then spoke. "We will need access for cleanup," she said. Her tone was different now. Not claiming. Asking within limits. I nodded once. "Scheduled." "Limited," I replied. 2 words. "Clear." She accepted it with a small nod of her own. No argument. The man in the blazer did not speak. He just watched the cars leave, each one taking a piece of what they thought they controlled with it. The sun climbed higher, light spreading across the lot, exposing details that had been hidden in the dark. The rushed edges. The uneven lines. The parts built for speed instead of strength. It all looked different in daylight. Less permanent. More like what it was. Temporary structure placed on something they did not own. A final cluster of cars moved through the gate, leaving wider gaps behind them. The pressure eased. Space returned. I walked the gate back toward the closed position, not locking it yet, just resetting the line. Rebecca noticed. So did the others. The message did not need words. This would not stay open by default. It would open under terms. I checked the hinges, the alignment, the posts set in fresh concrete. Solid. Exactly where they needed to be. The road felt different now, too. Not just physically. Functionally. It had shifted from a path they used to a point they depended on. That change would hold longer than anything built on top of it. I stepped back and looked once more at the lot. Fewer cars now. Less noise. Movement slowing to something manageable. The system still existed. But it no longer ran on assumption. It ran on permission. And permission could be measured, limited, and enforced, one vehicle at a time. By mid-morning the lot looked smaller. Not because anything had been removed, but because it no longer overflowed into my land the way it had before. Cars came in slower. Fewer at a time. The attendants had changed their positions, standing closer to the entrance now, watching the gate instead of the rows. They were not directing traffic anymore. They were waiting for it. That difference showed in every movement. A sedan approached and stopped before the gate without being told. The driver looked at me first, not the sign, not the attendants, then waited. I gave a small nod and opened the gate just enough. He rolled through carefully, like he understood this was not automatic anymore. Behind him, another car slowed earlier than needed, leaving space instead of filling it. The pattern had changed. Inside the lot, the tents were coming down in sections. Metal frames stacked neatly. Canvas folded tight. Vendors loaded trucks without rushing, like they were working inside a boundary they could not cross. The music was gone. In its place, there was the steady sound of work. Tools clinking. Doors closing. Engines starting and stopping in shorter bursts. Rebecca stood near the center of it all, no longer elevated by motion, just present, watching each adjustment as it happened. She did not walk over to me again. She did not need to. The agreement sat between us now, not as a threat, not as leverage, but as structure. I walked the length of the road once more, boots pressing into dirt that had begun to settle again now that the pressure had eased. The ditch still held its shape, but the collapse had stopped spreading. The water line remained, thin but defined, a reminder of how quickly the ground responds when pushed too far. I crouched near the edge and pressed my hand into the soil. It held better now. Not perfect, but stable enough. That would take time to fully repair. And time was now part of the terms they had accepted. A truck rolled up to the gate and stopped. Not a vendor this time. County markings on the door. The driver stepped out, looked at the gate, then at me. He took in the scene in one sweep. The narrowed flow. The adjusted pattern. The people working within limits instead of against them. "Got a call about a backup earlier," he said. His voice was neutral. Observing, not accusing. I nodded once. "It is handled," I replied. He glanced at the line, shorter now, moving steadily. Then at the gate again. He gave a small nod of his own. No further questions. No need. He got back into the truck and drove off, tires crunching over gravel as he merged back onto the county road. That was the last external pressure point. The system had corrected itself before anyone else had to step in. I stood by the gate and let another car through, then closed it again, keeping the rhythm controlled. One at a time. Always one at a time. The sun climbed higher, drying the last of the moisture along the road. The sharp smell of asphalt had faded, replaced by dust and warm air. The lot no longer felt like an expansion. It felt contained. Defined by something real instead of assumed. Rebecca finally walked toward the entrance again, stopping a few feet from the gate. She did not step into the road. She stayed just outside the line, respecting it without needing to be told. "We will adjust the layout," she said. Not a promise. A statement of necessity. I nodded once. "You will," I said. No edge. Just fact. She looked at the road, then at the gate, then back at me. "We misjudged this," she added after a second. The words were quiet, but clear. I did not respond right away. I let the moment sit, not to press it, but to let it land where it needed to. Then I shifted my gaze back to the line and opened the gate for the next car. She watched that movement. The simplicity of it. The control in it. When I closed it again, she nodded once and stepped back, turning toward the lot without another word. The last of the morning traffic cleared not long after. The space opened fully. The noise dropped to a low hum. I rested my hand on the gate one more time, feeling the steady weight of it under my palm, because nothing about what happened needed to be loud or dramatic. It just needed to be correct, and once it was, everything else fell into place.